And she wants to leave Tom. It turns out Tom has had a series of love affairs, and is quite open about it, really. And Daisy doesn't want to tolerate this anymore. Daisy is a beautiful girl anyway, or woman. So, boy, Daisy is tempted. And then after maybe a half hour together in the house, they come out and Gatsby takes them, Daisy and Nick, over to his house to show them around the house. Now Nick has already been there before, and we meet these strange people who kind of are living at the house because Gatsby lets them live there. They're not poor. They're just kind of odd. In fact, they're kind of Dickensian, eccentric, two-dimensional characters. Now, one scene is particularly telling, and it's a great scene partly because I don't understand it. I don't think there's no rational explanation for it. It gets to something pretty deep, though not serious. Here's what happens. Gatsby is showing Daisy and Nick around the house. Gatsby comes to his room, which is probably the size of my house. And he's enthusiastic, trying to show off to Daisy, impress Daisy, maybe Nick, but trying not to be too obvious about it. And at one point he opens his closet, and there, I don't know, 100 shirts, 200 shirts, all of them handmade, silk or whatever. And Daisy is so impressed by this that she cries. Why does she cry? Cry about the shirts? Cry about the monetary value of those shirts? She could buy 50 closets like that without much strain. What is the point here? I don't know. I'm not sure Fitzgerald knows what point he even wants to make. Nick doesn't understand either. It's all just presented as some visceral reaction, some spontaneous eruption of emotion. But what's the cause and what's the meaning? And don't know. Maybe it's just a kind of she decides right there, not decides consciously, emotionally, that she once loved this man and maybe loves him again, Gatsby. I guess that's the meaning. But what a strange thing that triggers this emotion. Shirts? Shirts? But, oh well, there we are. So it really seems, now Daisy is going to openly spend time with Gatsby. Spend time over at the house. Well, this means that they're having an affair. And this means that Daisy is really thinking about leaving her husband and marrying, I guess, Gatsby. So, let's see now, don't want to leave anything out. On the way from Nick's, Gatsby's, Buchanan's house to New York City, one takes a train normally, the commuter train, even then in 1926, let's say, the action, 25. That train will go through some not very nice towns. Basically, I guess that's Queens there. Queens, one of the boroughs of New York City, Queens, is actually on Long Island. So part of New York City, greater New York City, is on Long Island. And Queens has some nice sections, but some not so nice sections too. And so we go through a kind of dirty industrial kind of town that northern New Jersey and Queens and Brooklyn have a lot of. Hoboken, New Jersey, Elizabeth, New Jersey, Newark itself. This is the area where I grew up, basically. I didn't grow up there. I grew up in a spiffy, spiffy means sparkling, clean suburb some distance from there. But this is an area I didn't know even really knew about. Okay, so through such a town, and we get a glimpse of this sign, a big advertisement sign, huge, on top of a building. And it becomes a symbol in the book. And it's difficult to say what it's a symbol of. Now, it's an advertisement for glasses. Okay, that's interesting. Seeing and all that. The name of the product I don't remember too well. This color yellow, a glaring kind of yellow, I think I remember, is dominant on that sign, and somehow one associates it with vulgarity. And this word vulgarity becomes kind of a big word. I don't remember how often it's used in the novel, maybe not often, but in a sense the novel is about vulgarity. Vulgar, V-U-L-G-A-R. I suspect that the Korean definitions and dictionaries do not quite capture this word, because I've seen reactions to it. People say common. Okay, common. Now, common has a couple of meanings. It's common to believe that I don't know. It's common among Koreans to believe that North Koreans have huge concentration camps in which people are basically forced labor and killed. It's common, widespread. Second meaning of common, vulgar. That is, behavior of common people, behavior that is not consonant or in harmony with good breeding, good manners, refined manners, educated, cultured people's manners. Now, I suspect that vulgarity among Koreans and vulgarity among Americans are two different things. Maybe I'm wrong. I may have a misperception here of Koreans. I'm thinking of people with a lot of money. The Samsung guy, or the Jung Mo, the Hyundai guy, or these people with a huge amount of money. Now, of course, in Korea you have your very moneyed class, even idle probably. I saw a very young guy driving a very expensive Mercedes the other day, a Mercedes sports car. Or these people, I haven't seen any Rolls Royces running around, but these people spend a lot of money. But my question is, I wonder what the difference in manners between those people and very common people in Korea, what the difference is. I suspect that the difference is not huge, because your culture has an idea of what good manners are. Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, I imagine, mainly. Everyone agrees. The poor learn these things too, and so the gulf between good manners and bad manners, or good manners and bad manners, the gulf is not so huge. In the States, because of our history, the gulf is kind of large. That's not entirely true, but in the book assumes that it's true. So one finds vulgarity. Now, one of the lessons that Nick learns, and he knows it too, but he's got to relearn it, is that vulgarity can be found among the very rich too. In fact, maybe a lot of very rich are vulgar, are vulgarity itself. And But Nick is impressed by money. He can't help it. We Americans perhaps generally are. People are, maybe. It takes great intelligence, self-control, and balance to judge people apart from money and education, for that matter, and maybe even from manners. A guy like Nick loves and hates the very rich, and that unbalances him a little bit. You can't hate the very rich either, or that's not fair either. The problem is to see people as they are, see ourselves as we are, which I assume is impossible. Maybe it's probably impossible to see people as they are. Anyway, the novel is a little about this, and a little about Nick's discovery of vulgarity, embarrassing vulgarity among the very rich. And notice we have two classes of very rich. The Gatsby class, this kind of dirty money, and the Buchanan class, idle rich, not dirty money, I guess not. Granddad made a lot of money. Dad increased it probably, and now Tom lives idly on stocks probably, which in the 20s were making money, huge money. Okay, that sign. We see it 3 or 4 times. Now, gradually we learn that Tom takes Nick with him to a party in New York, an apartment that Tom keeps there for partying with his mistress. His mistress is Myrtle Wilson. Myrtle, M-Y-R-T-L-E. Myrtle is married. Myrtle is married to a man who runs a gas station on the road near the town where the sign is, on the road to Manhattan. And Tom met her on a train. That's an interesting little story. Tom had met her on a train. They were on a train coming from New York City out to Long Island. And they were together on the last car of the train. And at a certain point, maybe they're the only passengers on that train. Tom was attracted to her, she to him. They never even said a word to each other, but the contact grew quite heated on the train. Not everything, but a lot of feeling. And so she becomes Tom's mistress. She too is bored. She's bored by her husband, who is a simple, unexciting man. She wants some excitement. Tom's glad to give her some excitement. So Tom takes Nick to New York City. They pick up Myrtle on the way, get some gas. Tom treacherously friendly toward the husband. The husband kind of knows what's going on, but he can't stop it. He can't stop Myrtle, who rules him, controls him, and he certainly can't stop. So they pick up Myrtle and they drive to the city. They go to this apartment. It is a party, 20, 30 people crowded for a small flat. And that's where Tom and Myrtle spend time together and sleep together too. The crowd there is low class. Tom is amused among them. Tom drinks heavily. Myrtle drinks heavily, gets very drunk. And she creates a scene. That is, she wants Tom to leave Daisy and marry her. Well, that's unthinkable. That's inconceivable. And Tom tries to control her, and when she becomes uncontrollable, suddenly he hits her.